Hello and warm greetings to my seminar presentation on environmental conservation and ecological ethics, historical perspectives, and the foundational relevance of these philosophical tenets as found in the ancient texts and scriptures, in the Vedas, Upnishads, and Puranas, in the ecological ethics in Indian philosophy, in the principles of sustainability, in living in harmony with nature, and folk songs, etc. Now, I have premised my entire discourse on these 8 concepts and philosophies of the Indian knowledge system, which are very relevant in the times today because we are living in the age when we are facing a lot of environmental devastation because of ill conceived development, and human health is suffering, human well being is suffering. Also, our non human cohabitants of the planet, that is, those species which are in the realms of the flora and the fauna apart from Homo sapiens, are also threatened for their existence. I will not delve any deeper into the environmental issues because I take it for granted that everyone here understands what exactly environmental issues are these days. There's pollution, there's global warming, there's climate change, there's population explosion, there's this huge problem of global waste, so on and so forth. People's attitudes, people's beliefs, and people's faith plays a very important role in changing their relationship with nature and in instilling a sense of responsibility towards natural harmony, towards natural conservation, and towards ecological balance. So, first and foremost, the principle of ahimsa. It is said that ahimsa parmo dharma, which means non-violence is the supreme dharma, the supreme religion. So it's one of the core principles in IKS where killing as a matter of crime is considered to be wrong. So ahimsa, a core principle in IKS, emphasizes non-violence and compassion towards all living beings. It advocates for the ethical treatment of animals, recognizing their intrinsic value and rights to live free from harm. This philosophy aligns with modern animal rights movements against hunting, and it promotes coexistence and respect for all forms of life. So, the biggest threat to biodiversity today being habitat destruction and another being poaching. So one of these two, that is poaching, is very, very clearly covered in the concept of ahimsa as we find it in the IKS. Next is Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. The world is my family. This is a concept from IKS, which means the world is one family. Recently, we saw when we were doing the G20 presidency. Even then, this was the motto of the G20 summit here in India last year, September to November 23, considering the entire world as one family. It promotes global unity. It promotes emphasizing that all humans, animals, as well as all natural entities are interconnected and deserve mutual respect. So, this philosophy fosters a sense of universal brotherhood and humanity, advocating for the collective well being and coexistence, not sacrificing the well being, survival, and existence of the other at the behest of our own survival. This is the kind of love, respect, and adoration we have for all members of the family. Next is nature worship in pantheism. So, very simply, the belief goes that when people who are subscribing to the Indian knowledge systems, they worship nature, they worship different. Here, I have shown you the picture of people having a tulsi chora in their houses. Like this is one of the beautiful shrubs, Ossimum sanctum, its name is. It's called basil, it's sweet smelling basil. People worship it, and there's all forms of nature worship. So, when there is nature worship, then how can nature be harmed? We have this golden tradition of sacred groves in the country. And in this map, I'm showing you all those locations of sacred groves in India. And you can see the entire country is spotted with these sacred groves. There is the distribution of sacred groves is everywhere. So there are three types of forests as per IKS: Tapovan, Mahavan, and Srivan. And Tapovan are forests associated with penance, that is tapasya, and they are inhabited by saints and rishis. Mahavan refers to the grand natural forest. Tapovan and Mahavan are considered to be sanctuaries of flora and fauna, as ordinary human beings are not even allowed to enter these forests. They can't even take a single blade of grass from these forests. That's what sacred groves mean. And today, when we are faced with so much of man animal conflict at all the protected areas of the country, national parks and sanctuaries, what happens is that the local people, they go to to the national parks and sanctuaries for headloads of firewood, for fodder for their cattle, and they just let loose their livestock to graze in the national park. That kind of conflict is easily avoided in case of sacred groves, because people consider it their religious belief not to harm a particular forest just because it has been devoted to a certain deity, to a certain god or goddess. So, this flora and fauna gets protection in the sacred groves. And then there is Srivan, which means forests of the goddess of prosperity. They consist of dense forests and groves. And I must say that Madhav Gadgil and Ramchandra Guha, they have done extensive studies on the sacred groves in India, especially in the Uttar Kannada district of Karnataka. And there are academic papers that have been published on this topic. Now, my dear friends, we all know the importance of trees because we are all grappling with pollution, we are all grappling with global warming, and we are all grappling with climate change. In the Indian knowledge system, from the Matsya Purana 154.512, we get this beautiful, beautiful Sanskrit shloka: Dash Koop Samavapi Dashvapi Samohrida Dash Hrid Samah Putro Dash Putra Samo Drumah. That means a pond equals 10 wells, a reservoir equals 10 pounds, a sun equals 10 reservoirs, and one tree equals 10 suns. And these are the lines that are found in the Matsya Purana and also in many other Vedic books. So imagine when the importance of one tree is equal to 10 suns. I mean, this is just unprecedented and unparalleled, I must say. Then uh, how faithfully these thinkers have realized the importance of trees, and at that time, and if we don't realize it now when we are actually faced with the ecological imbalance, which can be restored by planting of trees. So, afforestation is one of the major mandates of environment conservation and environment protection, and we get to see that afforestation can become a participative activity with people from the Indian knowledge systems, with people from the indigenous origins, because they have been educated with concepts like this. One tree equals 10 suns. Now, friends, as we have just spoken about protected areas, let me also add that in our country, the law recognizes not just two protected areas, the more popular types, that is the national parks and sanctuaries, but four types of protected areas: national parks, sanctuaries, conservation reserves, and community reserves. Now, community reserves are slightly different from sacred groves. They are not associated with a deity, or they are not considered a sanctum sanctorum. People are allowed to enter community reserves. People are allowed to take away little resource sustainably from the community reserves. But community reserves are accorded protection by the local community itself. So in India, these are regions managed by local communities to preserve biodiversity and cultural heritage. So these areas reflect indigenous knowledge and practices, fostering sustainable conservation efforts. And CCAs, as they are called, there's a national CCA directory also, and it's maintained by Kalpavriksha. And they have a website also where all different community conserved areas of the country. There's Mendhalekha in Maharashtra, and in Kerala there are quite a few. So there is a listing of all these. So CCAs empower communities, protect endangered species, and promote harmony between humans and nature. And several protected areas in India that are set aside to protect flora and fauna and to preserve local traditions, cultures, and practices. Beautiful, one of the most beautiful local traditions where the birds, the trees, the animals in the community conserved area are preserved just because the innate value of these species in the ecosystem is recognized by the local people. When we're talking about the local people, how can we not talk about the very famous Bishnoi community that is found in Rajasthan? If we go back in history, we find that the Bishnois were the first eco warriors. They were a community founded by Sri Guru Jambheshwar in 1451 to 1436. That's how long his lifespan was, Sri Guru Jambheshwar. And he gave a set of 29 niyamas, niyamas, tenets. And some of them are on healthy living, some of them are on social well-being, etc. 8 of these tenets, 8 niyamas, are for sustainable environmental practices, biodiversity conservation, and animal husbandry. This is just amazing. So because these are the people who realize that their own benefit depends on the well-being of their environment, they do not indulge into practices that are unsustainable and that damage the environment. So the community is instructed to use firewood without burning insects. Cutting trees is banned. Bishnois don't wear blue clothes as the dye is obtained by damaging a large number of shrubs. And they give special protection to the blackbuck, the Antilope cervicapra. We all know about the famous Salman Khan blackbuck case, where such a high-profile Bollywood star was also jailed because he had poached some blackbucks, and this community, the eco warriors, they took it upon themselves that it becomes a deterrence for further blackbuck poaching in future. And their love for the blackbuck fawn goes to such extent that the women, the Bishnoi women, even let the blackbuck fawn, suckle upon them if the mother has died or is injured. So they live in complete harmony, and the blackbuck population, the male, the doe, the deer, the doe, as well as the fawn, none of them are scared of the Bishnois, and the populations just thrive. The populations just thrive in areas where the Bishnoi community inhabits. Finally, my friends, we all know the Satvik diet regimen and the Mitahara. Mitahara as in eating less than your appetite, leaving some part of your appetite just hungry. These are all the concepts, all the principles of sattvic food, because sattvic foods means pure, essential, natural, vital, clean, conscious, true, honest, and wise choices of food, because we are what we eat. And the sattvic food also exemplifies ahimsa, and it promotes the eating of only local seasonal fruits, nuts, seeds, oils, ripe vegetables, legumes, whole grains, and it promotes moderation in eating. So, not even these are rules that, if followed, are very good for health. They are also rules that are good for the environment, because they promote sustainable agriculture. Even drought resistant species are promoted in sattvic food. A lot of emphasis is on millets these days. Of course, there was a time once when millets were given only to the poorest of the poor to eat, because it was considered that the rich and the high class, they should be eating fine grain. And this was water intensive, this was more land intensive, causes more land erosion, robs the soil of soil fertility, etc., etc. So, all food choices in sattvic diet, as per indigenous knowledge system, are geared towards sustainable use of agricultural resources. Less water, less methane, less carbon emission, more of millets, that means more of roughage, and that means also the byproducts will let the other non-human species thrive. Sparrows will come back in the crop fields and like that. Similarly, the Mitahara, eating less, and it's found in ancient and medieval era yoga literature, and it means eating less and eating in moderation, putting less pressure on the earth's resources, putting less pressure on global ecological services and global ecological systems for food production. So, in conclusion, we can say that IKS is important for environmental conservation, and there is relevance of these ecological ethics coming from IKS in the modern times. Hence, we should promote sustainable living practices, living for the environment, lifestyle and environment, and it can be guided by IKS. And this step of promoting sensitization, awareness, and education on IKS will directly or indirectly be helpful in effectively conserving the environment, because when it comes to environment protection, anywhere, anyone can make a difference. Thank you very much.